pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, everybody get a chance to read the minutes that was sent previous? Any discussion? None heard? Stand a motion to pass the minutes from May 6th meeting.
I will second it.
All right, any more discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? Public comment. Jessica, you're on the agenda first.
Hello. I would like to talk about changing ordinance to allow for backyard chickens in the village center and residential zone. It started when somebody asked my husband if he wanted some of his full-grown chickens, to which Chris said, "Let me text Todd." So when Todd said no, then that kind of put a halt on everything. But we do want to get some backyard chickens. And so I looked at a bunch of neighboring boroughs, New Salem, Borough of Shrewsbury, Dallastown, and they all have chicken ordinances for any zoning area, regardless of its village center or residential. And so I put together a little something that mirrors what Shrewsbury, who just passed it, I think on like May 4th. But I used that, looked off of it, and thought that we could go off something like this. It also includes the standard Pennsylvania chicken ordinance things. But anyways, we just went backyard chickens, and I know that we used to have a lot of them in the village center way back when. I think my garage used to be a chicken coop, then it was a dove place, a pigeon thing, whichever Harry Gladfelter decided to do.
I was just gonna say, that had to be back in 1900.
Well, I think Harry Gladfelter was alive back then.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I don't know. I moved here when I was 10 and I don't ever remember that.
Yeah, so anyways, yeah, just give it a read over. It's pretty consistent across all the boroughs, no more than 6 chickens, no roosters to avoid noise complaints. You have to keep your coop clean. And don't let your animals run at large. There is a neighbor in town who does have chickens, and they have run at large all the way down to the antique shop, but I think that's an enjoyable experience for everybody, and then they get shooed back up the hill. So anyways, I know there's some usual objections, which are the stink, the smell. Chickens are a natural fertilizer. They eat pests, in addition to providing food. And then one would also argue, well, what about dog owners who don't clean up after themselves? Anyways, yeah, just read it over, and I'd love to hear everybody's ideas on backyard chickens, because I'm going to come up again next month and bring it up if nobody does. Thank you.
Any discussion?
I'd just like to say, right now, I'm against it. I just cleaned out a house up in York Springs that had 12 to 15 chickens, and that place was rat infested. And I'm not saying you can't control something like that, but it was pretty bad. I don't think, especially in the village center, that there's enough acreage for, it's just, houses are pretty tight up through there, and I don't agree with it.
I would ask you to look at the village centers of New Salem and Shrewsbury, who have similar acreage for the plots.
And also look at Springfield Township's 5-acre plan.
So Mark, your experience that you just had there, how big of a piece of property was that?
That was actually 3 acres. Now you had 2 or 3 different chicken coops. I'm thinking a total of 15, 18 chickens, but there were rat holes everywhere. You could see I didn't see any rats, but they were there.
I would, again,
I just don't think anywhere in the borough right now has enough acreage. I don't think 15 feet is enough off your neighbor's property. You know, something like that, I don't think you're looking at 50 or 100 feet. And I don't think it's possible to do.
I would argue and say, what about people who have like 3 dogs or like a ton of feral cats? Like everybody.
I'm just giving my opinion
Yeah,
tonight.
no, and I just want to.
You're a great neighbor.
Some
That's just how
people,
I
they
feel
take
about
their dogs to the groomers. Other people will let them shit all over the house, not take care of them. It ultimately comes down to the owner. And the good thing about this is that they can be held accountable if their coop and the area around it is not held to standard. So,
We have the same issue with dogs, like you said, they can be held accountable, but I can tell you, I was out front this week working, and I could smell dog crap. And I know there's a neighbor right beside me, there's 2 across the street, which I know one keeps up with it. But, I mean, what do you do about it? Enforcement is crazy to try to do it. You know, and people don't have experience with chickens, they're a little novelty, and they all wear off. Everybody that I've ever known that had a chicken novelty don't have chickens today. Like you said, somebody wants to get rid of 6 adult chickens, why are they getting rid of them?
oh, because they have too many in their flock.
Okay. But most of the times it's novelties, you know, it's not, it wears off, the money you put into it is nowhere.
But that's
Never
not
really-
really your judgment call.
Yeah, but I mean, it is, right, but it wears off, and it's a nuisance. Have you ever been around chicken coops and smelled the odor that they put off?
Yes.
Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, I've lived in the country my whole life, and that is the one smell I cannot really put up with is the chicken. I mean, you put up with cows, you put up with pigs, it just has a different, I mean, last year, they spread it up here across from the garage, top of the hill. And I was up there visiting him one day, and it was horrible. He couldn't even keep his garage doors open for his employees because the smell was that bad. I mean, that's a large quantity, I understand.
Yeah.
I just think there's not enough acreage per house there to do that. It's too tight.
I mean, me personally, I don't categorically say I'm against it, but there are things, especially in the New Salem ordinance, that I would like to see incorporated, whether that's lot size, application permits, because we should know if this was to go forward, we should know kind of who has them. You know, we have an issue where we have a lot of renters, so I believe who are not the property owners. The property owners then need to know if their renters would like chickens and be able to sign off on that, because what if there is a pest problem? What if there becomes a quality of infestation of the house? You know, who's responsible? I mean, it's not the property owner should have a say in whether they approve that.
I think, if I can, that comes down, that's a matter of the tenant and
Well,
the owner.
I understand that, but I think they also should know. I think your neighbors should also be on board. You know, they should, you know, because pests may not just infect the property that has chickens on. Like I said, I'm not categorically against it at all, but I think there are things that need to be looked at and worded that protects everybody. You know, and that's my opinion. That is what ordinances and zoning does. It is not for the person that wants something. It's to protect and provide the quality of life for the neighbor. I could care less if you have 30. I could care less if you had 100 chickens. But your neighbor does not deserve to live next to that or should have say to that. I don't care what kind of business you want to run from your property, but your neighbor should not be suffering because of that. You know, I think we have to look at this as a whole. You know, and I think that is my interpretation. That is what ordinances and zonings do. It's not to protect the person that wants something, it's to protect the neighbors and everybody around. Just my opinion. Like I said, I'm not categorically against it, but I think there's things that would have to be in place or looked at to make sure, you know, everybody's protected.
Todd, without putting you on the spot, what is in our ordinance about chickens in which zone? Is there something, nothing at all?
It just falls under the,
Agricultural.
Rural agricultural,
And residential and village center, it's not even listed.
correct.
Okay.
So you're allowed in one zone.
Being a township, do you have areas that are like Seven Valleys in your township where there's houses?
So you have housing developments.
But are they on top of one another, like a
Mhm.
couple feet beside each other,
Oh,
between
yeah.
each other? Okay.
Yeah, the areas that surround like the boroughs.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I specifically wanted to include boroughs only to that mirrored what we had here.
I'll just, my experience, the complaints that you're gonna get, number one is gonna be the rats and rodents. That's how we learn about them where I work full time. That's the first complaint that we learn people have them. The second thing is going to be smell, especially in the summer. And again, not all chicken owners they don't all draw rats, they don't all smell, because some take care of them, others don't, unfortunately. Then the other thing is, as you had mentioned, some people think free roaming means free roaming on everybody else's garden and flower beds and everything else. So they're the three things that I typically hear about when I learn about chickens that aren't where they're supposed to be.
Here's kind of a dumb little question. Where do you go with the mess when you clean it up?
She's gonna have to speak up, I can't hear.
Yeah, you're right, come up front here for the sake of the public.
Where,
If you don't mind, just for the public and your name and address.
Rhonda Schrader, 85 Main Street, Seven Valleys, obviously.
Thank you.
When you clean up the mess, where do you go with it?
So some people put it in compost, some people put it in their gardens.
That's gonna be a lot though, isn't it? It's gonna,
Rats and mice.
yeah.
I mean, must be a raccoon that comes and eats the rotten apples out of my compost now, but I'm gonna still compost, because that thing turns into,
I feel like the volume is gonna be a lot, I guess is what I'm saying. My compost is full now with just the little bit that I have going on. I don't know where you'd go with it.
you could also, I guess, throw it away like kitty litter.
Yeah, I feel like that's gonna be a lot though, either way.
Mike, you have some comments?
Yeah, I do. First of all, we went through this in New Salem a couple of years ago. Quite a few months talking about it, getting different input from different people. I wrote the ordinance for New Salem, and that was kind of what we thought was a fair compromise with the quarter-acre lot restriction. Now, in New Salem, other than like on North Main Street, you've got larger lots. I think sort of what Mark is saying, I think your lots are very small here for something like this. Chickens themselves, and I'm going to speak from personal experience too, because where I live, I've got them beside me and I've got them behind me. The chickens I've even named. I mean, the neighbor's chickens. The one I named Rusty for obvious reasons. Rusty, Goldie, and Blackie. And there's two of each, so it's like Blackie one.
Well, I need clarification. You named them personally.
Yeah,
They
because
have their
they're the
own
neighbors.
names
They're-
from
they're just
you.
what I call-
Gotcha.
they're
They're
just what I
not their
call.
government name, just
Because
your name.
they're the neighbor's
Gotcha.
chickens, and they're free range, and we see them, they come over into the front yard, they go underneath the bird feeder, and I think our bird feed is gourmet compared to what they may get.
Yeah.
But the problem's the secondary effect. Smell, it's like a dog, you're right. Somebody can have 15 dogs, and if they clean up after them when they go, it's better than one dog who nobody cleans up with. The other problem with them is the noise. They cluck and make noise. And the other thing is where I'm at, we've got chocolate labs in our yard. Guess what happens when the chickens are next door? The chocolate labs want to go visit the chickens. And they
Mine had
want,
one in its mouth,
yeah, they
because
want.
it went through a wooden fence and put one in its mouth. Yeah, it was
And
great.
they just, I mean, if you've got a neighbor with dogs, and again, these are kind of what I would call free range because they go in the person's yard, but they do have a fenced in enclosure. But the fenced in enclosure is literally right beside my shadow box fence. And our chocolate labs are trying to put their heads through that fence every chance they get to get the chickens. And if the chicken's dumb enough to stick its head through on our side of the fence, which it did once, and only once, because they, as dumb as they are, that one learned. But anyway, so those are the problems that I've seen. And again, if you're 4:30 in the morning, you start hearing the chickens make noise and the ducks. There's ducks too behind me. They start making noise and the dogs hear it. And then the dogs start to bark. And it just sort of snowballs a little bit.
Again, I would counter with, I walk past people's houses with dogs and they go nuts.
Yes, you're right.
Absolutely.
You're absolutely
Yeah.
right.
Absolutely.
So-
But probably not at 4:30 in the morning.
Sometimes.
And we also had an experience in New Salem with something called a crowing hen, because you remember more what the details
Yeah,
on when you start to do that with dominance.
Yeah, most of the time you get rid of the roosters because you don't want the noise the cockadoodle do when the sun comes up. But when you have a flock of female hens, a lot of times one hen will take a dominant effect and start to crow. So I've heard that there are things called crow collars that you can put on them. It's kind of like a little zap that stops them. But if you're trying to keep the noise down, in New Salem, I believe there is a provision that says if a hen starts to crow, it must be disposed of. So, yeah.
And the only other thing is, again, we looked at this very carefully in New Salem, and just, in my personal opinion too, there's some that had said no slaughtering. Well, if the chicken has outlived its usefulness, you probably want to at least have it for dinner.
Yeah.
So, not saying it's all bad, but, again, you've got to be very careful and look primarily at the secondary effects.
Todd, may I say something? Back when I first moved to Seven Valleys, we had a guy that had the gray house close to me. He put chickens in the garage. Okay, now I'm assuming he had a rooster, because every morning at 5:30 in the morning, he'd be crowing. And I thought, man, I was so glad when that man moved. I mean, he didn't have them roaming around or anything like that, but man, let me tell you, 5:30 in the morning, every morning, I was glad when he moved, because I said, and my granddaughter, she bought a house in Jackson Township, and they're going to build a chicken coop, and they're gonna have chickens. I don't know what their ordinances are, so I thought she'll find out. But like I said, personally myself, if we wanna have chickens, but this ordinance thing, I'm not too keen on that. But that's my opinion.
The other thing I forgot to mention too is there are problems, again, for reference, I live right beyond Downtown High School in that development. And foxes and the coyotes have come in to get the neighbors' chickens.
Which becomes problems for cats and some small dogs and the hawks.
Yeah.
Well,
They've really-
I will say, we already have coyotes getting the small dogs and stuff. I hear them every summer.
Yeah.
From wild.
And the other thing, I have a friend who's down in Hopewell Township outside of Shrewsbury, and regardless of how he tries to store the food,
Yeah.
the rats seem to somehow get attracted to it.
And then they kill the chickens.
Yeah.
The rats will actually swarm a chicken and kill it, which is crazy. Rats are a bad problem.
But again, I'm not saying yes or no, I'm saying if we do decide to move forward, we
Just
have to
wanna be
be very
careful.
careful and make sure proper
Make sure it's
arrangements
safety.
are made for safety.
Okay, any more discussion?
It is like I reflect on what you say. For every one person that Jessica's up there, she grooms everything, she cleans everything. She's having a good time with this. And there's other people that join in and start doing this. Half of them people, after the thrill's gone, something's gonna wear off. I'm tired of dealing with these chickens. I'm tired of this. Can you take my chickens? Now this person has more than they're supposed to, or they just don't take care of them. Not everybody takes care of their dogs. Not everybody can take care of their chickens. We've been through dogs, we've been through cats, we've been through skunks, we've been through coons, we've had people trap animals out of the town. We've gone through things over the years through this. And if it all work out and be perfect, it would probably be great. It's not gonna be that way. I have a feeling it wouldn't be that way. I think every so often, we're gonna have this discussion, and there's gonna be chairs filled up here with people reflecting what we've just said here about confrontations with chickens.
All right, so, I think we have three options here. We can table this to next month. We can disregard and move forward, or we can throw this back to the ordinance committee and get an official recommendation to council. What do we want to do?
Cheryl's not here, Zach's not here. The minutes will show what was discussed. Maybe table it for this meeting. Make sure that everybody gets, and can distribute these copies. Maybe, I know we already have the newsletter out, but let it know that locally that the town, there's an interest that people that would like to do this and maybe get some feedback. And there could be next month,
more people here and get a little bit more
Can I
idea.
ask you a question?
Yeah.
How many people want chickens? Just you?
No, there's a couple people in the neighborhood.
I
But
think,
are they all on Cherry Street?
They're also in other residential zones.
between, I think too, maybe in the next month, we can do a quote unquote official, unofficial post or something on the borough's Facebook page and maybe see if we can get some feedback. I know it may not, we've got to take that a bit with a grain of salt too, because not everybody that may vote would be a resident of the borough, but I mean, it might give us somewhat of a kind of feeling overall of, the borough residents as a majority.
Well, I think if it was gonna be people outside the borough, their opinion doesn't matter.
You're exactly right.
So I wouldn't do it online at all.
But that's why I say you gotta take polls and those kind of posts with a grain of salt, but I think, with those, people, we see who would vote, so we kind of know, well, that person's not a resident, this person's a resident. But I mean, it's just, I think, it's just a tool we could maybe use to get a sense of feel for just the general, overall.
Now, where would they put, you have to gather up the chicken poop, where are you gonna put that?
Well, that's what Rhonda had asked, and I said compost, gardens, because it makes an amazing fertilizer. I compost, I garden, I don't use, everything in my backyard is
No,
compostable.
let me tell you,
And
I moved to my house in 1973, those people had a compost pile. And I got rid of that as soon as I could, because I had rats in there, I had snakes, mice, you name it.
I had a newt last
Oh, yeah.
year, that was
And
really
let
fun.
me tell you, I got rid of it as fast as I could, because I did not want that stuff around and causing problems for my neighbors, and I got rid of it in no time.
I
I did
do
what I had
also,
to
I know
do.
I mentioned this before, but on the reverse side of the page, there is like violations and stuff. So I don't want to say like everyone can have a chicken and do what you want with it. Like I do want people to be within certain restrictions to be held responsible. Because do I think 12 chickens is excessive for less than a quarter acre of land? Yes, that's ridiculous. But I also think it's ridiculous for somebody to have 3 or 4 dogs on less than a quarter acre of land too, when you see like my neighbor used to. So again, it comes down to responsible chicken ownership, which is the same as a responsible dog or a cat owner. So I would at least appreciate the consideration with it. So thank you.
Okay, so we'll table this till next month. Just my fear on that is we spent 22 minutes on it today, spent another 20 minutes. The ordinance committee could have spent 45 minutes, came back with one. So we'll give this one more month and have a discussion and we'll move forward with it. All right, any more public comment?
I have some things, updates from the sewer, but I think it might double what the solicitor's report, so if you want, I can wait till the end.
Sure. Ron?
It's coming up later here. My name's Ronald Smith. I think most of you know me. Since I can't seem to get a meeting where the Tri-Community Ambulance is involved, this transfer of this building to the borough. I'm one of the original signers of the Articles of Corporation nonprofit for the Ambulance Club. And in that was a specific term, when it dissolves, that all funds, property, whatever, would go to other nonprofit corporations. This borough is not a nonprofit corporation. Now, my name's on this building. There wouldn't be a building here in large part if it wouldn't be for me. Now, no matter what goes placed, I could never get anything in writing of any meetings, changes in the article of corporation on this transaction. Now, I know it's probably a little late. And if it does take place, my question is, this building is worth at least $300,000. Are you going to lower any taxes due to this windfall? And also, is there going to be any money transferred in this transaction? I think I have a right to know. I think the public has a right to know. This community, this ambulance club was started for 3 communities. That's why the name was on it. Stoverstown, New Salem, and Seven Valleys. So Seven Valleys is gonna get it all? I don't think it's right. So I personally would really like to see some paperwork on this.
I mean, it was addressed at previous council meetings. It was discussed.
It was never addressed at the, as far as I know, at the
I
ambulance
can't
meeting.
speak for the, I don't know, I can't speak for the ambulance club. I can just tell you it was discussed here. And it
Well, what
was-
kind of paperwork do you have that it's okay for you to receive this property?
I'll let you
All
address
right,
that.
so well, yeah.
Did it go through the court?
It's in process.
So it hasn't been done yet.
No, to my knowledge, we've been waiting for quite some time. When a nonprofit, anytime a nonprofit that's purpose is charitable, such as the ambulance club, goes to dissolve, it must go through a court proceeding, and you must also get the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office involved in it.
And where's this paperwork at?
I've never seen it.
Huh?
I have never seen it.
Well, then why is it on your journey?
Because I'm gonna give the update as what is.
Oh,
to the
you're just
best-
gonna
to the
do an
best of-
update on
To
it.
the best of my knowledge, what's happening. The ambulance club, I call them the ambulance club, Tri-Community Ambulance, from what I've been told, they have an attorney named Ron Hirschner at Stock and Leader.
Could I want to write that down.
Now, I'm assuming, and again, assumptions can get you in trouble, that they've done the necessary paperwork, had their meetings, passed their resolution to.
What's his name again?
Ronald is his first name,
And
Hirschner,
Hershner.
Hershner.
Okay.
So the tri-community.
Well, I've been trying to get a hold of some of the officers in tri-community and I'm not getting results.
Well,
And from the original charter, because I helped write it. And this is not going the way it is.
Well, and that could be something that the Attorney General's office is looking at. Now, typically what happens is any nonprofit has the right to dissolve and transfer their assets.
Under
to
their
another
bylaws.
organization. Well,
You're right. I agree.
under state law.
I agree.
And we're simply, the proposal was made that an ambulance continue to operate out of
Okay.
here, that the borough do it, and that
All right.
any rent that Wellspan pays is put toward maintenance of the building. That was an agreement that was signed about a year and a half ago. But everything in that
Is it
agreement,
possible for me to have a copy of that?
that's a matter of public record, so I can get you a copy.
I would appreciate a copy.
Now, as far as the actual proceedings, from what I was told by the attorneys for Stock and Leader, they had given copies of their proposed paperwork to the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office for review before they were filing it in court. And it has been stalled there for months. That's the best I can tell you.
Okay.
Nothing has been finalized.
Okay.
No court hearing has been held.
All right. Thank you.
Kayla, would you want to say a couple things?
Yes, I do. Oh, there's my pen. I was looking for you. Now, I do want, let me start off where I live. 109 Main Street, Kayla Royce. Now, I do want to say, before I get into the Spring Grove stuff, a personal comment on my behalf here is something that we kind of ran into last month. Community cats. So as much as we want to say our animal control handles that, he absolutely does not. Clue does not do anything with cats and will send you right to the SPCA, where the SPCA will have a long waiting list of someone to come out and handle the trapping. And they typically will do what's TNR, trap, neuter, release. Okay. Yeah. So I will tell you that I have been working personally with, her name's Jen Althouse. Not sure, she may ring a bell, but she provides the traps and people just in the community. I dropped off 5 cats today at the SPCA for another community situation. They're just doing it on their own dime. typically through a rescue or donations via online or from the community. So I just wanted to give you that information that community cats, feral cats, are not handled through animal control. And we might want to think about maybe supporting some of the local rescues that put in that time and effort. I'm not looking for a handout, but they could use something. Okay, that's on your plate to what you want to do.
Does Jen work with trapping tabbies?
That too.
Okay.
Yep, trapping tab.
Trapping
Yep,
tabbies.
yep,
Okay. I knew
yep.
that
Trapping
sounded
tabbies
familiar.
would
Yeah.
also, yep. So maybe trapping tabbies, some sort of yearly donation, something, because they do it throughout the communities. I just helped Rhonda here with her one feral. So I am trying to help with the situation, but Jen is my resource there.
Sorry, like the best news we've ever heard about feral cats, because they were under control, and then there was a couple came, and I think there's some running around pregnant now.
Oh, yeah. So,
Yeah.
and as much as that might be up for debate, I will tell you, if we can trap a pregnant cat, we will take care of it. It's better to spay abort than it is to let the kittens suffer. We have so many kittens that are suffering right now because they're born into terrible situations. So if you do have cats and you want some help, you can reach out to me. Jen's got her plate full, but I can help out here and there. I don't mind. Just reach out to me.
Mason Street yet, Mason Avenue,
Haven't gotten, no.
because that is where, I mean, that's where the initial problem was.
Mason, the barn. Is that the
Well,
or no?
Mason,
Mason behind me.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah, we got
was
that
always where the
one.
situation
It's
was.
been really good for a while.
It has,
Now
but now
it's
it's back
starting
there.
to.
There's
Yeah.
two that have showed up right in, and there's a neighbor that lets theirs out all the time, that doesn't, I don't know if it
I
stays
think that
out.
was the
It's
other
a
one I
gray
was
one.
trying to
Is it a
get.
gray one?
Yes.
It's a
Yeah.
gray one, and it's a striped one, and it's a yellow tabby.
Yeah. So, I
And
mean,
the striped one looks pregnant.
and honestly, they could either be pregnant or they could be suffering from a disease of the uterus, and which would be a very painful death. So just, you can reach out to me if we can trap on your property, for sure. Just Kayla Royce, Kayla.
Sure.
Oh, my friend Jen
How
Jen
do I
Allhouse.
contact you?
Yeah.
That's what I know.
Reach out to me.
Okay.
So reach out to me. You can Facebook. You want my phone number? I can. Yeah, 717-357-7974. And don't worry, I know it's recording. It's totally fine. If you search my name, everything pops up.
Yeah.
Even my in-laws' house, it's terrible.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Jen Orhouse, is she with the SPCA or the?
She's with Tabby Trappers.
Trapping
Yeah, trapping the tabbies. Yeah. She also works with the local Whiskers Cat Rescue.
So is it the trapping tabbies that
Yeah.
does the spay neuter?
They have a contract through the SPCA
Okay.
where they take them, they have appointments, but as a local, you can do it for your own self. Like Rhonda experienced, if you trap one cat, you can drive it up to the SPCA between 8 and 8:30, Monday through Thursday. Drop it off and then pick it up the next day for $20. And that's a rabies spay neuter.
So is that what trapping tabbies does too? They return them back?
Yep. As much as that kind of like stinks, at least they're not overpopulating. And they keep down the mice and some other things. But
Except for what you said, about these things, that's it doesn't control that problem.
yeah. There's certain aspects they hit and there's certain ones they miss. But we really just want to population control them. So, but yes, I just wanted to share that with you guys that Clue does not do that. Yeah, absolutely. Now, the other thing that's not public comment, but more just a recap of the Spring Grove recreational meeting. Want to let you guys know again, tentatively, we're thinking the September 6th or the 7th, having a Wonka movie night, basically. Chocolate concessions, all sorts of things. Tentatively, we had a great meeting. Kate had a great meeting with the fire hall and got some contacts in there. So she's working on building that up, building just kind of what we're going to do. So we have a really great meeting there. I do want to share, I will be putting it, I'll ask Todd to put it on the Seven Valleys, that Facebook, and I'll probably put it on the, if you live in Seven Valleys Facebook post thing. We have a bunch of events coming up, and by we, Spring Grove Recreational. We have Summer in Paradise, which is coming up June 7th. That's at 5 p.m. That's a free event to go and experience kind of like what do they do. If you're curious about what they can do for our community, these are some of the things. There's a 1 mile bubble run happening on June 7th. There's the Experience Cadorus Outdoors, the ECO. That's June 8th and June 9th this weekend, which that's wonderful. And then like even the B program, saw some volleyball teams going on. I know you had mentioned baseball, but hey, some people like volleyball. That's totally fine. There's even the golf classes. So I'm going to share a bunch of that fishing with your children. So I'll share that stuff online and I'll also share the links. So if you're online, do that. And what I can do, Deb, because I know you're not online, I'll also send it to the council. So you guys can access it even if you're not on like Facebook. So you can see it and talk about it because Kate has a whole bunch of flyers in one PDF, which is pretty awesome. Okay. Any questions for me? Bill, did I miss anything? Oh, yes. And for the Give Local York, which was May, what was it, the 4th, I think, or 5th of last year, they were doing a fundraiser. They raised $3,100, which they are going to put back into the program, into the communities. So that's fantastic news. I had a little thing in my yard for it. I'm not sure if anyone saw it. Kind of wish we would do both sides. Bring that up next time. But any questions? Yeah.
You mentioned
Follow up.
the Summer in Paradise. That's this Friday, June 7th. The
June-
bubble runs at the same place, and it's at Farmers Field.
Yes. One is the summer.
At the elementary school.
It's the park next to the elementary.
Okay.
Yep. And yeah, the bubble runs at the same place, but it's just 2 hours after start. And it is you have to register though by the 5th. So if you are going to do that mile bubble run, which sounds pretty fun, it's $12 a person and $8 for 10 and under.
And the night concludes with fireworks. Our favorite thing.
Legal fireworks.
Legal fireworks. Legal fireworks. Yeah, yeah, legally set off. Any questions? Okay. All right, perfect. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Any public comment? You want to say anything about fireworks?
Yeah.
You sure? Next month.
It doesn't do anything.
Engineer's report.
Just two quick things.
Nope, there isn't.
We have an amendatory contract number 2. And this is I thought it should be number 3. I double checked, they're telling me number 2. But that aside, the mandatory contract is to extend the time of performance to December 31st of 2024. And that's for the current block grant that we have.
Is that for completion? Or?
Well, the current contract that we have, which will do Mason Avenue up to Park Street.
Right.
That's what this is for.
Okay.
So the contract expires for the block grant money.
Okay.
For the block grant funding, June 30th. So this will extend this time of performance till December 31st. And then in November, we're going to do it again to June 30th of 25.
Bridge it the next year.
So we just need a motion authorizing the vice president to sign.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye. Opposed, no.
Okay. And then the next item, as I reported last month, the borough is in line to receive $130,000 for the south side of Church Street from Main Street up to Mason Avenue for the curb and sidewalk. That's in the amount of $130,000. That is to go to the county commissioners this month. So what I'm asking councils, if you would authorize the council vice president to sign the contract upon receipt of that. And this would be for the second block grant.
And that is, did you say South Street?
No, it's the south side of Church Street.
Okay.
I mean, it said South Street, but south side of Church Street, this is for the second one, which is Main up to Mason.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
It'll be
I'll
pretty,
second
man. It'll be pretty, okay.
Greg was one. Do we have a second?
Yeah, Greg and Greg.
Okay. All in favor, aye? Opposed, no?
That's all I have for, engineers.
Thanks, Todd. Solicitor's report?
Okay, nothing new on the mediation. It was sort of on hold till we received the most recent audit, which has been provided. I haven't had a chance to look at it in terrific detail at this time. I'll do so next. Reservation agreements, everybody should have got a copy. It was brought up at last meeting about the authority changing the reservation policy. We only have 2 customers in the borough that have EDU reservations. If they decide not to renew them, the EDUs will stay with Seven Valleys Borough. They do not go into the general pot. They stay with us. Building transfer, I think we kind of dealt with that already. The only thing was I did put a call into Ron Hirschner this morning, and I have not gotten a call back yet as far as any additional updates on what's going on. And I don't think we have anything new for state police this month to get it this month. Okay,
The last one.
that's it for us unless anybody has any questions.
Thanks, Mike. Zoning and code enforcement report.
Everyone has a copy of that. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. I can tell you that 34 Main Street and 50 Church Street did not mow their lawns within the required time. So our third-party contractor was in and actually cut them both yesterday. Yeah, no.
Does anybody have any questions on the zoning report? Thanks, Todd. Fire company EMC, no report. Unfinished business, fiber optic.
Yeah, finally got a little bit of a response back. I think I emailed everyone a copy. The email I received from Silas Chamberlain with the York County Economic Alliance. Basically what he's saying, in the short version, is the county contractor with a new consultant called Networking Building Plus Consulting. They've been working the last couple of months to identify new partners to replace LIT, which is the one that we talked about in the past. And they're hoping that within the next 60 to 90 days, they expect to be able to circle back with the internet service provider that is going to replace LIT. And then at that point, they're going to be able to start moving forward with permitting and so forth with the 4 boroughs. So it's back on track again. So probably going to be 2 to 3 months before we hear anything additional. But it's still moving forward.
Questions on that? Fire and EMS volunteer tax credit.
Do we still do with the
On this.
curving of line thing?
No, it's down.
I said new business.
Oh, that's new business. So we're in unfinished business.
Okay, yep, okay, never mind. For whatever reason, I moved mine up there under old business. Yeah, everyone, I did provide to you, and I just use Shrewsbury Township because it's been in place since 2018. Question was raised last month about the volunteer fire and EMS tax credit program, and that would apply to any Seven Valleys Borough resident that volunteers with the fire company. We don't have a volunteer ambulance service anymore. And there's a point system and all that would have to be worked out with the fire company. But if council decides they want to move forward, you'd first have to pass an ordinance. And you'd have to decide whether the credit was going to be up to $500 for earned income tax or up to 100% of the borough's real estate tax.
And I mean, just so I'm touching on that, last night, I was at Hershey at the State Associations of Boroughs Conference, and I was sitting with the mayor and a councilman from New Freedom, and this came up. It's a big talk right now, even today in one of the sessions with the state fire commissioner, that they're seeing this as a tool to use for recruitment, because we know, recruitment is the biggest struggle with fire companies. And we do, I believe we know that there is a very limited currently number of volunteers in the borough that may qualify for something like this, but talking with the gentleman from New Freedom, they work with the surrounding boroughs around in townships, Shrewsbury Township, Shrewsbury, New Freedom, Railroad, that they all pass basically the same ordinance and they have the same resolution of points and funds available. So, I mean, I think if it's something we look at, we need to get North Codorus on board as well, because we know most of our volunteers live in North Codorus, and then we can even go to the fact of, they've gone to the county and gotten tax relief from the county for them. They've gone to Southern School District and the school board has given them property tax relief based on this. New Freedom, they did mention that they have a lot of recruitment and numbers kind of did spike. And I mean, it's always going to be an up and down game. It is something that I think, as us to keep that fire protection in the borough, is a very, again, talking and listening to stories, there's fire companies they're closing, and, if we lose this asset to the borough, we then are responsible to find fire protection for the borough and contract, and at a cost to the residents when, I believe it's time that we may have to fight a little to keep them and help them, not necessarily fund them, but be of supportive and help them in any way we can. It is something that I think, well, at this point may not garner the immediate results or the immediate benefit to many. It's a tool that I think they have available that they can go to recruit. So it is something that, maybe it's something we look at, maybe we do some more research, read kind of the Shrewsbury Township ordinance and the resolution that they passed along. And, it's something that maybe we can, meet with the fire company, whether, that's me and it's somebody else, to see if this is something that, we can support them in doing, and possibly bring their numbers up, get them out the door more often, or a more regular basis, So again, I mean, thank you, and willing to also sit and do some more talking with some of the surrounding municipalities as well.
Did they do a presentation last month?
What's that?
Did they do a presentation last month about this?
It was brought up to me in passing with some that, and I did mention that, well, we can do it, but I never realized in this last night talking that, it's going to have to be something that we're gonna have to work with our surrounding municipalities to try to get them involved where, it not only helps us, it would help North Codorus, New Salem as well, they are struggling mightily, with their fire department. So, I mean, we're three communities right up and down the hill that, we all may benefit.
The information that I'm gonna need to know moving forward with this concept is how many does it affect in the borough?
Exactly.
What is North Codorus Township doing?
Yep.
And what is other surrounding municipalities and school districts doing? Because
Exactly.
there's school districts that are not passing this and there's school districts that are around. So we just need to understand the lay of the land.
And I mean, I know it's not gonna happen it could be a long-term effect. I know New Freedom, it took them 2 years, the mayor there and the councilman to fight to get it through, And the easiest one they actually had was Southern School District to get it through. So of all places. So again, it's something that I think we should
Yeah, but
I
then
know, do some research on,
that affects two things. That affects the school taxes
Yeah.
and it
Yeah,
affects the
exactly.
municipality. So
And-
it's.
and they've gotten the county too involved, so I mean, there was concept of they might get a $1,500 credit, you know, in those municipalities, which is not small, and I mean, again, they get what they put into it too, you know? So it's a little bit of a reward to them to serve our community and the surrounding communities.
So we're gonna shelve that until we get some more.
I think it's worth,
Yeah, from what I hear, is it all real estate tax based, or are they gonna do something as far as their earned income? Because there are people that are firemen in Borough that rent, so that would be.
well, I think there's options that we can choose,
It would
correct?
be of no
Yeah.
benefit to them to get them to, I mean,
Yeah,
there's a lot, I mean, then we have many rental properties.
No, you're exactly right,
So if you're going
yeah,
property tax,
Yeah.
there's probably no incentive for them.
no, you're right.
You know,
I think-
when the state first passed the law, it's still up to $500 credit for earned income tax.
It is,
That hasn't
okay.
changed. But when it initially started, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but when it initially started, it was up to 500 for the earned income tax, or you couldn't do both, or up to 20% of the real estate tax for the municipality. They've since changed that, and you can now do up to 100% of the real estate tax, and in addition to the earned income tax.
Okay, but they didn't just up the earned income tax
No,
portion
you
of
do
it.
not up that.
So,
Okay, good information.
Yep.
Next item.
Again, just to update you, we talked about this a little bit. This had to do with the proposed legislation to change the way workers' comp works, and for the traumatic stress disorder with volunteer EMS and emergency services. House Bill 1632 was passed on May 8th, and it was sent over to the Senate. Our representative Seth Grove voted no on that. And then it's now in the PA Senate. It was referred to Labor and Industry on May 28th, and it's just sitting there right now at this moment. But I did get a response back from Senator Phillips Hill's office. And actually, she said she's opposed to it because it's an unfunded mandate. So.
Anything else for unfinished business? New business, Todd?
All right. Well, let me get to my line thing. Remember, we had a proposal from D.E. Gemmell last month, as well as one from Dwayne Hilton. And council, if you recall, asked me to go back and just verify the linear feet of the curbing. So I did do that, and I excluded the 910 linear feet along the south side of Church Street. We're going to be placing the curb and sidewalk. And then for the yellow line on Maple Street, then we had also asked for the paint brand and for the traffic paint, since it faded last time. So I followed up and I sent an email, identical emails to Wayne Hilton, D.E. Gemmell, and H&H Contractors. Dwayne Hilton, I had not heard any response from him. I followed up with him last night with an email. I haven't heard anything, but I know he reached out to Greg Kiner and wondered what was going on. So I don't know what to tell you on that one. So I don't have anything from him. I did get something back from D.E. Gemmell to do the curbs, and the Maple Street yellow line would be $9,603.82. H&H Contractors for the same work, the same linear feet and everything, would be $7,458.
And they're all using the same paint.
Yeah, D.E. Gemmell did not specify the paint. However, H&H did, and they said it's the Sherwin-Williams PennDOT approved traffic paint.
what did we mention last,
Last.
or, well, I know Hilton was considerably cheaper, but, did we wait until, I thought we were talking, maybe we weren't gonna do the part of Church Street? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, these prices exclude that.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I misunderstood them. Yep,
What were the quotes before? What did Hilton give you before? Do you remember what it
No, I
was?
didn't bring that along. It was, I think his number was around 50, 56, 5,400. But again, you know, I know you guys said last time the paint didn't last, so
Yeah.
it faded so quickly.
I think if you talk to him, Greg, or if you reach out to him, you know, make sure he's using, we want the Sherwin-Williams. 10
Well, he
watt
didn't, I mean, we didn't get a revised quote from him on these specs, so I mean, you could certainly table it again, or you could move forward. We're running out of summer fast.
Can I say something? Years ago, I don't know if they still do it, but people had to do projects for their
Community
crime or
service.
whatever.
Community service.
Yeah,
Yeah, prisoners.
they used to have them paint the curtains.
Yeah.
The Borough bought the paint and had them paint the curtains.
Well, we did, I will tell you that we don't get the community service requests much anymore, and the last time, so 2 times ago, me and John McDonald had the prison work crew come down and do it. The biggest thing with them, and not that they didn't do a bad job, somebody has to be here to babysit them as well from the borough. And they only work during the week. And they, you know, you've got liability risk with them too, being on the roadway without necessarily, you know, they'll use their transport van to block traffic, but it's probably still not correct. So I think and it ended up taking 3 or 4 weeks of days. So, you know, and that was 10 people. So, I mean, I think it became more of not that they didn't do a bad job, but I mean, it's having somebody available to do it, to kind of be here with them and their correction officers who are in charge of that group. I mean, I assume they still do it. You know, I haven't heard much from them or much of them, and I don't even know if I have the cards anymore from him at that time. But that's, I think, what was our problem when we kind of decided to go with an actual contractor last time was speediness or.
I mean, I wouldn't paint by hand along Church Street.
It was rough.
Yeah.
And I know there was multiple spots that I went back and had to finish anyway.
If you know any volunteers, send them our way.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have,
How long ago was that done?
what's that?
When Hilton did this, how long ago was that? 2 years? 3 years?
Maybe.
Yeah, it's probably been at least 3 of them.
So in 3 years, it's possible that there's a maybe $2,000 increase from what he did that didn't last to an H&H with some PennDOT approved.
Sure will.
And do they give you a time frame on that?
He did not, no. I mean, I know it'll be this season, but I can't tell you if it'll be June or if it'll be August.
Right, because getting into them now in
Yeah.
June might mean it's not gonna get done till August.
Yeah, because he's, you know, I'm sure they already have things scheduled.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I think too with him, if we decide to go with him next month, he'd probably be out here the next.
Probably be here tomorrow.
Exactly. So I mean, I don't. Yeah.
Still,
I mean,
we can still it's gonna last longer.
no, I agree. I totally agree. So I mean,
Okay, so Todd has reached out to 3 vendors. He received quotes back from 2. We can move on that with a vote tonight, or we can table it. So I need a motion if we want to move forward.
I will make a motion to proceed with the line painting with H&H Contractors at a price of $7,458.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. carried. Treasurer's report.
I don't have anything in particular, if someone has some questions.
If no discussion, need a motion to pass the treasurer's report, approving and accept file statements for audit and authorize the treasurer to pay regular bills.
I will make it.
Deb and Gary. Need a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I'll second it.
All in favor, aye? Opposed, no? Reports and correspondence. Secretary's report.
I'll be pretty quick here. Received the monthly report from WellSpan. For April, there were only 2 calls in the boroughs compared to 12 the month before. So that's a good thing. Council had asked that I start to provide you with a copy of the right to know request activity for each month, so I can provide you all with a copy of that. York County Boroughs Association quarterly dinner meeting, but it's actually a picnic meeting, is June 27th. So if any council member, the mayor, or solicitors interested in attending, please let me know no later than the 20th. I did get yours done yesterday. I did get an email. I know there was interest of 3 property owners that were going to apply for the Trail Towns grant funding. I don't know who all applied and who didn't out of those 3, but I did receive one email from a property owner who said that they did receive funds from the trail grant, and that was 52 Main Street, next to the winery.
Nice.
And that's to tear down the old garage out the back and put up a new garage and a driveway. So we're working with her on that to get her permits. And the last thing is the weeds and the spray and everything along the curb lines. I don't know if the job's just too small, but it's like pulling teeth to try to get someone to come out and do it. So I did finally get one person that's willing to do it. That's Hammond's. Compared to last year's pricing, it's $90 more than what we paid last year. So I don't know if you need to act on that or not. It's a total of $550, but that's also for weed whacking around the overpass and spraying there as well.
Are they set up to do it more than once this year?
I told them typically we do it 2 to 3 times, but we're already in the middle of June, so I'm thinking probably one more time.
Did you ask if he had a pesticide license?
He does, yeah. It's Hammond's Lawn and Landscape.
No, I mean, it's like a Pennsylvania certified, because that's why Brandon.
Right, no, these folks do.
They do, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
see it on the
right,
quote there
yeah,
anywhere. I just
no.
went through, so.
Yeah, I know, that's why Brandon did it.
You can move forward with that then?
Yeah, I mean, if it's just, I don't think you need to vote on it as long as there's a consensus of council, everybody's okay with that. All right, that's all that I have.
Mayor's report?
Like I said, I covered majority of what I'm attending yet. I have one more day tomorrow up in Hershey at the State Association of Boroughs conference. I kind of wish I would have gone to more of them after experiencing the first 2 days. It's good to network, good to talk to like communities. Tomorrow, the last session, we'll be together with population size. So I'll be in a room with, populations of 1,000 and under. It was nice to connect to some other mayors and, get some feedback, some vendors. I know Todd connected with one today, our energy provider that's on the lookout already for, our contracted pricing. I talked to a fireworks provider. I will tell you, baseline 8 to 10 minute show is starts at $4,000. So, it gives us a number, it'd be something, maybe down the road, we could look at. And Schaefer Fireworks basically does,
Yeah, my neighbor does that for free.
yeah, exactly.
Say, ask for a donation, town might chip in.
But other
Just
than
look up
that,
the hills.
So far, so good.
I get $50, George.
Lien collection reports? Changes?
No change.
Okay.
Might touch the next one already.
Anything more on,
No.
Nothing more? All right.
No, the audit report, it is a good report. The primary reason for doing this was to try to establish a budget to see whether or not what they're gonna do with rates. Because part of the issues in the mediation are trying to project future rates as well as debt service payoff and things like that.
Todd, for some reason I didn't get the sewer report. Couldn't find it.
We got it early.
It was like 13,
Yeah, I put it myself.
Yeah, it is.
Either 50.
Well, the monthly report was early on, the audit just came out.
Yeah, I seen the audit.
Yeah, I had to go back a little ways to find it.
Yeah, the only thing in the monthly report that I did note, it does look like they're having a bit of success with the Church Street, keeping the airlines from doing what they're
With
supposed
the
to do.
soft starts.
Yeah.
Those drives are nice. Gary, anything?
Start with me.
You're the only Gary, you won't get the right excuse.
I'm in Asia.
Oh, just to go that way.
Yeah.
Whatever way the president of the council wants it.
That's right.
I have nothing.
Okay.
Mike,
Okay.
Greg, Gary.
I do have something. I just want to mention that I know most of you have already heard, but keep your thoughts and prayers in the family of Pete Kiner, passed away last night. And he was a long time citizen, contributed a lot to this borough. And as far as I know, one of the oldest historians. We're pretty fortunate to have him and his knowledge. We'll miss him.
Mark?
Yeah, some street things. Really never took notice to it, but I'm walking down Park Street, the upper part, it's starting to crack up in sections, like where the drive is on the left one up there. So it's something we really want to look at too.
Past Schaefer Lane?
Yes. And I know we've talked about this in the past, but South Street, I looked at that, and it is getting bad. And ironically, there is a sign at the top of South Street that says closed for paving June 7th to June 14th. So Springfield is doing their section of it next week. And that is bad. I mean, the sides are all cracked up again, which we knew was coming. There's potholes in the drive area on the right-hand side going up. So maybe if the street committee want to take a look at it, and so that's something we may want to look at least this season to get ideas for what we need to do for next season. I mean, last time it was just a patch that we put on it. So we knew a repaving was coming here eventually.
Anything else, Greg?
Nope, that's it.
Deb?
Yeah, I was at the sewer authority meeting on May 15th, and I kind of liked what they did here. If you want to look at it for Todd, I was wondering, is that something we could put with our agenda?
What, the financial?
Yeah, like they had that was their agenda, and I kind of liked that, and I was wondering if that's something we can do on our agenda for the people that come here. And I mean, if it's something that you think they shouldn't see, that's fine, but.
It's not a matter, it's not a matter
I mean,
about
is that the
not.
same thing as what you have
Yeah,
here?
it's not a matter of not seeing it, it's public record, but, you know, you
I
get
just
to
thought
the
it was
point.
kind of interesting that.
Yeah, I mean, we attach the treasurer's report to the minutes now, and it's
okay.
kind of like, how long is this agenda gonna get?
Oh, okay.
You know, that's just
I
but
thought-
it's up to
yeah.
council, whatever you
Yeah.
want me to do, I'll do
Yeah.
it, but,
No, I just thought it was kind of interesting when I went to
yeah.
it and saw
I
it.
mean, that information there shows up on
Yeah, like if there's voided checks and so forth, that shows up
Oh, okay.
on your
that's fine,
treasurer's
that's
report,
fine.
which I attach, but.
It's just not a line item, not
Right.
like this.
No, I mean, the treasurer's report breaks it down by fund, you know, whether it's checking or Pliget savings and what those balances
Another
are.
thing, when you went, like, people had on there about the weeds and so forth, okay? Now, I like my neighbor next door, Mr. Holstetter, I like him. But every year, you gotta tell him to spray the weeds or chop them down or whatever, every year. And I'm sorry, but that is just common sense, that when you, maybe I'm nitpicking, okay, you can tell me if I am, but every year. And when Glenn had that building, never did we ever have to tell him, spray the weeds, chop them down, whatever. In fact, my husband just went over Saturday and took a big tree that they had and cut some of that down. And I don't know
Is it
if I
on the
should.
building?
No, it's on, if you go back to my
Back?
garage and say, it's like, I mean, I will gladly go over and say something to him, if that's okay. I will call him and ask him if he can
I
kind
mean,
of.
that's up to you as far as neighbor to neighbor, I mean, that's it.
And the
But
only reason
can
I
look at
asked
it
that
too.
is, I had a possum in my backyard, okay? And I've got, now my grandkids are 8, 10, 12, whatever, but I do not want possums in my yard where my grandkids play or where they play basketball. And I'm just thinking, I'm gonna ask you now, should I go to him and ask him, you know what I'm saying? Because every year I gotta tell him this.
I mean, if you want me to, I can check it out and then follow up with a notice.
Yeah, but does
But,
his employees mow the lawn, or does he have a
no,
service?
he has somebody mowing it.
So, like, why isn't he telling them that they
And I
gotta
will
do
tell you
that?
this, I had to go out to the
Yeah.
guy one Sunday, because the grass was getting high, and I went out and told him, I said, if you
Crappy
don't,
landscaping
if you don't mow
service.
this,
Lawn
you're going to
service,
get a letter from the zoning officer. He goes, I know, he said, but you told us only to mow it every other week. I said, that's fine. I said, but this here part along the building, that's his. I'm not weed whacking that. And he said, okay, we'll take care of that. So what I thought I'd do is ask the guy, when I see him again, say, can you clean that up with, it's big rocks, but when Glenn had it, Glenn sprayed it every year, twice a year he'd spray that. And this is every year we gotta say something. And I thought, now I'm gonna ask you.
I'll gladly check it out and follow up with it.
I mean, I was thinking of waiting until the guy mows the grass. I mean, Mike, what do you think?
But you said that you already talked to him,
I
and he said,
talked to
I
the
do
guy.
just what the owner does, so I don't know if that's
He
gonna
said he mows
change.
every other weekend. He said, I'll be mow every other week. That's what the guy told me. And I thought, well, okay, now I'm gonna see if I see him, ask him if they can do something.
Well, there are two things. Number one, in order to take any type of enforcement action, every year we've got to give somebody a letter at the beginning of the year.
Oh, okay,
Whether
I
it's
did
for
not know
grass, for summer, or snow for winter.
I mean, people just don't use common sense.
Well, gee, if
2024,
if everybody had common sense, you wouldn't need this book, you wouldn't need me.
I mean, I'm just amazed.
The other thing about what you're showing on the agenda for the sewer authority, all those transfers,
Right.
they're required to do that.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
and let me explain why, because they have debt service and then
Okay.
you still have it. All the money for a sewer authority comes into the revenue fund.
Right.
And they have to show when they put so much into their bond redemption fund, so much into their operating account, that has to be shown on record. Whereas we as a borough don't have to do that. That can be part of the treasurer's report.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, I don't have anything. Public comment?
Yeah, just real quick, won't hold up much time. As you know, Brandon Brennan, 83 Main Street. I do attend the sewer meetings pretty regularly. I knew you would already get to the reservation, EUDs was passed. We have one that did confirm they were going to hold onto the reservation, the other one they did not hear back from. Usage over the EDUs now. Apparently we're granted so many gallons per day of our EDUs. But I forget how many, I'm thinking 218 gallons a day, am I wrong?
Typically, it's between 200 and 300.
Okay.
depending how they are. And you understand what an EDU is.
Yeah, equivalent
That's
dwelling
the
unit.
flow measurement.
Right,
Equivalent
yeah.
Dwelling unit, okay.
Yep. Yeah, so But just to let everybody know, they decided they're going to start charging the residents if that resident goes over that EDU per month. And they can do that because they get the water meter readings. So I just want to let someone know if they want to go fill their kids' kiddie pool in town or wash their cars a lot, that if you go over your EDU, you may get charged. I just thought it was fair to let everybody know about that. The next thing is something I've been kind of sticking my nose into the business between the borough and the sewer authority, just to try to figure out what everything was and which was which. So after, of course, they stuck in our infrastructure, we didn't have the money to pay for it. They did a bank loan or something like that, and it was a 30-year stretch. We're almost to 2.5 years, and that's going to be over. But when I talked to the chairman, he didn't want to comment on it going, the price of our sewer bills going down, because there's possibly infrastructure redos and retro that needs done, which I completely understand. It is almost 30 years old. Was kind of under the impression they may have already reached out to the borough a little bit about it, but I've been forcing the issue with them when I'm at the meetings that please continue to try to get a number together. So hopefully maybe the borough can maybe look into getting funding or start saving up or do something, because I, for one, and I'm sure everybody in this town would like to see the bill go down just a little bit. I know it's a stretch, but I think it's possibly it can be done if we look into it. Now, Stan, at the meeting, I kind of made it clear, please continue with it. Try to get the borough a number, and I will try to work with the borough as well if you guys need any help from me, but I know you guys got it under control with looking for grants. I know a couple years ago, Josh Shapiro, the governor, had set aside, several billion, $100 billion for infrastructure, small towns, sewers, and water. That may be money gone. I understand that. However, as we all know, grants and different things happen constantly, and I'm pretty sure the LSA fund, which is from the gambling money that goes back to the state, some of that can be used for sewer infrastructure as well. So this is something I would just like to put out there, that I have been asking them to make sure they can give us a number ahead of time, that maybe as a borough, we can look at to maybe lessen that big blow. Because I'm guessing, it sounds like, from my understanding, they have rebuilt the Church Street pump house motors at least 5 times over the last 30 years. They're going to they can't really get parts for it anymore. The stuff's too old, the stuff's too worn out. They're going to be looking at replacing it. It's going to be a couple mil probably. We don't have numbers yet, but I'm just saying it's going to be significant to the point where we kind of need to look at it now. It's my opinion. Just want to throw it out there.
So
Go ahead. No, please ask.
So you're saying that the debt service is going to be, for the 30 years, going to be terminated, or being at the X?
We're coming to the end of it, yeah.
2.5.
2025 or 2027.
But they don't know if it's going to come down, because they don't know. So do they have a 5-10 year plan, 15-year plan?
So what he did 2 months ago was he went to his engineer in the meeting and the plant manager, who's a separate entity that they hired to maintain the whole thing. And he's telling everybody, hey, I need you guys to start getting together, figuring out, because obviously we only pay a percentage of the maintenance of the actual facility that treats the plant. Those infrastructures is our responsibility, which, they take care of for us. So yes, they're working on trying to get a capital improvement plan, I think is the words I'm using here, for you guys, or for which I'm begging them to let you guys know ahead of time, because it sounds like they're working on it, but they were just going to go ahead and try to do what they need to do to maintain the facility. And I'm just saying, hey, I really like to see the bill go down just a little bit, help us out. And knowing that some state funding could possibly be available, I just want to give us all a warning that, hey, maybe we could look at it. So
I'm glad they're taking a proactive approach instead of a reactive approach.
Right.
That's what it sounds like they were heading towards, a reactive.
Right, which they were just said they were familiar and just having to handle it. They have the contract to handle financing. I understand all that. But I wanted to let them know. And I reached out. They said apparently they had tried getting grants before, and they were denied. I said, well, that was you getting the grants. Maybe the borough applying for grants is a different aspect. And it kind of looked like they didn't really ever thought of that aspect before. So I think they were appreciative that I had brought that up as well. So
Can I comment a
Sure,
little bit
go
on
ahead.
what you're saying? I don't want to interrupt you, that'll get you off track, because you're doing good. So-
Oh, I wrote notes.
Okay, first of all, remember,
Mhm.
the sewer system is owned by the sewer authority, not the borough. Therefore, the borough itself can't apply for a grant to fix it because we don't own it. But
Okay.
there are intermunicipal grants.
Mhm.
There are grants, and we've gone through this, Todd's the manager of Shrewsbury Township, we went through it with Glen Rock with the system down there. If you can get more than one municipality involved to get a grant, it moves the grant up higher on the priority list.
Gotcha.
You've got Springfield Township, you got Loganville Borough, you got Jacobus Borough, and you got Seven Valleys, all utilizing Springfield Township
That's
system.
correct, yes.
Therefore, you've got a number of municipalities that can do that. The borough could certainly piggyback and say, hey, this would be great to get that up. There was a round of grants about a year ago. Some municipalities got them and some didn't. And this is a continuing process. So it's certainly possible, and I don't see any reason why the borough would not put in a letter of support or anything saying we'd love to have it because it serves more than one municipality. But again, remember, the borough itself can't get the grant because the borough doesn't own the system.
Okay.
They can help. They can say, hey, we need it because it does serve our residents.
That comes to my second note, actually.
Okay.
So I'm glad you brought that up.
But the other thing I did want to point out though too is remember too, Seven Valleys Borough is a rate district. Our rates are based on our need for debt service and treatment and transportation.
I understand.
Those are the two factors that go into what you pay. Now, and that's why they've got to look at, are there going to be capital improvements that are going to possibly extend the debt service portion of your payment?
That's what we're talking about, right?
Right, and then you get into treatment and transportation as far as what other costs are. The plant costs go up, clean up the bay is still going on, things like that. So just remember that.
Right, I understand.
Okay.
He had sat me down. We had a good 4-hour discussion over there at the survey. He actually sat me down, explained me the percentages of what each one did. He just gave me a ballpark without getting into it. I can't seem to get access to the documents because without paying for them, because they're going to charge me per copy. Apparently it's thousands of pages. And it's going to cost several $100s. I asked for here, and I don't know, you guys don't have a copy of them here at the borough?
What are you looking
What's
for?
thousands
The
of
financial
pages?
documents of how it's set up and all that, for the loan contracts and all that.
I mean, the intermunicipal agreement.
Well,
No, I got the
there
agreement, I got the original contract. It's just how the finances is set up between the borough and the sewer. I would like to review that sometime. They said they'll let me sit down and look at it, but I can't take copies and pictures without paying for
Okay,
them.
I'm not, again,
I'll get
there
back to you on that
could
one.
be two items. Number one, there could be the copy of the bond issue.
Mhm.
The most recent refinance was done, I think, 2006, 2011, whenever it was done. It's about this thick.
Yeah, they said it's extremely thick.
That's the document prepared by bond counsel that goes through all the finances for the current debt service.
Right.
That, and then there's the allocated percentage of what municipality pays for what.
Mhm.
That document's about 10 pages long.
Yeah, I have that document.
Okay.
It's the other one, so. But like I said, that's
That
something.
would be something you want to start to read if you need to put yourself to sleep at night.
But the other one, you mean?
Yeah, but again,
Yeah.
and a lot of that too.
I just want to
is-
come to a full
Yeah,
understanding,
but a
so.
lot of that, the reason that thing is so thick, it's got copies of all the municipal charters, it's got copies of all the ordinances, and then has copies of the agreements. It's kind of everything compressed into one document.
The reason for me bringing it up is for the fact of the 30-year, and I'm getting the feeling that you keep, and I know you keep telling me that the infrastructure here is owned by the sewer authority. Their view is it's not really owned by them so much as they paid to put it in and we're paying them back for it. So I don't know what the words in the document say. That's why I'm not bringing up who owns what.
Okay.
That's what I'm feeling. Like you're feeling from here, they own it and it's all their baby. And they're like, well, we take care of it, but it was for you guys to put in because you were mandated to do so.
Okay, so again, I know there's a little confusion there, because even when we get into these mediations, there's a little bit of confusion.
Mhm.
The sewer authority is what's called an independent operating authority.
Right.
They were formed as a municipal entity. They are a separate, distinct entity governed by their 5 board members.
Right.
They are appointed by Springfield Township, but they are a separate legal entity. They're an independent, autonomous entity. They set their own sewer rates and things like that.
Yeah, what's that got to do with our
They
infrastructure?
own all of it. They own all the infrastructure everywhere,
Okay.
including, except for what's in Jacobus Borough. Jacobus Borough contracts with them similar to what New Salem does with North Cadorus. Jacobus owns their own infrastructure. They pay a flat rate to have their sewage treatment transported by Springfield Township. But the Springfield Township Sewer Authority owns all the sewer lines in Springfield Township, Loganville Borough, and Seven Valleys Borough.
Okay, well, here's my argument. We just paid a 30-year loan that says otherwise. Why?
No, we didn't.
So what was the 30-year loan for?
The loan document is the document that the sewer authority borrowed the money to put all this stuff in.
Mm-hmm.
They put it in. Now, the two boroughs, the two boroughs and the township, the boroughs and the township signed guarantee agreements that said that if for any reason the sewer authority defaults and doesn't make the payments to the debt holders, the boroughs will, kind of like we guarantee the loan. Kind of like if somebody guarantees the house payment.
Yeah.
Cosign. So, and the reason for that is the lender gives them a better rate. Because the sewer authority can impose taxes and go in and sheriff your house the way a borough can. The borough can pledge its taxing power to go up to 30 mils to pay that debt off if the sewer authority doesn't. So getting the municipal guarantee helps you to get a better rate when you go to borrow the money.
Okay, yes, they did tell me how they had gone back and got lower interest rates, and
They
worked their rear end
refunded
off to refund a few times.
They refunded that the last time, and they did very well.
That's what it sounded like. They'd done really good. So here's my question, and I don't know where it would land. So this is where your expertise will be. Why? I mean, I understand why, because it's the way it was written from the get-go. But I've owned several properties in other places in York County. Why are we paying a flat fee? Why can't we use what we're pay a small service fee and what we use?
Okay, now that's a good point. You said because you're paying, the primary reason that you're paying a flat rate is because York Water Company provides you water service. If now in Red Line, the municipal authority provides both water and sewer. So it's all billed on a metered rate. Where I live in York Township, Dallas County Water Authority provides the water. It's a metered rate. York Township Sewer is $125 a quarter flat rate. Normally, when an entity is not providing the water service, they charge flat rate for sewer because they have to pay for the records from whoever the water provider is, and most of them don't do it.
Okay, well, I don't quite agree with how they're doing it. And
But
that would be something I would like to know, if I can throw it out there, is it something we can look at coming to trying to recontract at a later date? If we're caught up on like the 30-year debt and all that, if it's something, and we do get the grant money to pay off the student capital improvements, is it something we can look at? Because I believe it's something that would be more ethical and easier on our residents if we could just pay for what that person uses. If someone's using more than the other person, it's really not fair that we're all paying across the board. That's why I came to you about the trash and it's the same principle that I'm presenting. So I don't know if it can be done now, but I wanted to put it in your ears and hearts. Maybe we can all think about it, look into it. I don't know.
Typically, it costs more for the municipality and to get the numbers from York Water and then figure
Well, they're
out
already
sewer.
getting the numbers from York Water.
Well, then it wouldn't be that hard to do.
That's my point. That their whole, what got me this is the fact that I asked them, how are you charging over your EDU usage? And they go, well, we get the York Water meter
Well,
readings.
and when you charge a flat rate, that's generally not something you do, but that's interesting. You've been there, you see the problems with Wolfgang. And that's bleeding out, and they're trying to look at doing that with other people.
They had problems with Browns. They were trying to figure that out. But the problems with Wolf's, they're already consulting to the fact that Wolf's is getting ready to put in their own little, miniature, whatever they need to treat the water. Plus, they're already paying to haul the water away. So that's my point. There's always ways to fix this.
That ultimately is a decision they make, how they want to do the bill, not the borough. The sewer authority
I
decides how
understand
they
that,
want to
but
do
do we
it.
have no say whatsoever in our own
They can
infrastructure?
ask us, we can give recommendations, but we can't say yes or no, we want to do it that way.
Oh, I understand that. But I also know coming and talking to people and talking with, they seem very eager to work with people, to an extent. They seem very good at working. I'm just saying on an amicable.
Sure.
Obviously, we can't just come in gun blazing and we're not doing that. I get
No.
that. But diplomatically, is this something we can look into?
Oh, my personal opinion is you're better off with metered rates for the exact reason you said. Somebody who uses more should pay for what they use, and somebody who uses less should pay for more. But ultimately, the municipal authority itself, the provider of the sewer service, decides what the rates are.
But you see my
He's just asking
position.
The Borough Council's thought process, if they're okay with him exploring that with the sewer authority.
I really have no authority. That's my problem.
Well, I think what he may be asking too is we could quote unquote, maybe pass a resolution to say we would like the sewer authority to do meter rates. But that's all we can do. It's
Right.
still in their court.
We could
But
still do
in,
it.
in my view, it should be them coming to us and say, hey, we'd like to do metered rates, what do you think? And we'd be all for it.
There's nothing that we can't go and ask them about it or see if they would consider it. Maybe they'll come up with even a better plan than what I'm suggesting now. They seem to be very intelligent when it comes to money and different things. I'm just looking for the end result, which is us as the citizens trying to lower our costs and stuff. So that's really all I have to say, and I thank you for taking the time to listen to me.
Thank
you. Yep.
Anything else? Meeting adjourned.